post lots of travel content on this channel, but I have just noticed, just recently, that I rarely post travel content about my own country, and I've still got lots left to see in Spain. So I thought I'd take you to a really cool place in my city called El Rastro, which is a very famous flea market here that I have actually never been to. So I thought we could explore it together, so let's go. Before we go, I wanted to show you this little gadget. So El Rastro has become a bit infamous for people stealing, pickpocketing and stealing phones, and generally the whole Madrid city centre has become like this, but especially El Rastro. So this is to keep your phone safe. This little gadget goes inside your phone case, and then this kind of pops out where you charge your phone, and you tie to this metal piece right here, and then you've got this string which you can put around your neck, and it's adjustable. If I can show you here, it's adjustable, or you can also wrap it around your wrist and keep it secure from thieves. So I got 2 of these from Amazon, so I'll link them in my Amazon storefront. I think a pack of 2 cost me like €6. I actually bought that for an upcoming trip that I have, because one of my biggest fears is for someone to steal my phone when I'm abroad, when I'm traveling. But I've definitely been using it around Madrid as well. This one is also really cool because the little thingy that goes inside your phone is pretty hardy. It's made out of cloth, and other things that I've had like this in the past, that thing was made out of plastic and eventually it broke. But this one, I'm pretty confident that it's not going to break anytime soon. So in order to get to El Rastro, the first thing that I have to do is take the subway. So I walked over there, I punched my ticket, got on a train, and I got off at a station called Tirso de Molina, but you can also get off at a different station called La Latina, which is the name of the neighborhood where El Rastro is located. So La Latina quite literally translates to the Latin, or the Latin one, and the neighborhood was actually named after writer and humanist Beatriz Galindo, who was one of the most relevant personalities of the 15th century, and she was often referred to as La Latina because she was remarkably skilled in Latin. Actually, she was the tutor of Queen Isabella the Catholic and her children, and along with her husband, Beatriz Galindo, also established a hospital on Calle de Toledo, which is in this neighborhood, and it became known as Hospital de la Latina. So this neighborhood is located right in the heart of Madrid. It is pretty close to other tourist areas such as Sol, Gran Via, Lavapiés, and the narrow and winding streets of this really irregularly laid out area date back mostly to the Middle Ages, because back in the day, way before Madrid was the capital city of Spain and before it was a big city at all, Madrid was just a farmer's village. It was a very small medieval farmer's village, and that farmer's village was located in what today is La Latina. You can actually still see remnants of this old farmer's village in many of the names of the streets and the squares of La Latina neighborhood. For example, Plaza de la Cebada means barley square where farmers markets used to be held. Plaza de los Carros means carriage square. Plaza de la Paja means straw square. And also El Rastro. So El Rastro literally means the trail, and in this case, the trail in question was a rather bloody one. So the Madrid's first official slaughterhouse was built in 1497 in this area, and along with the slaughterhouse came tanneries, many of which were located along Ribera de Curtidores, which is El Rastro's main street today. So cattle hides were transported to these tanneries from the nearby slaughterhouses, leaving trails of blood along the street. So rastros de sangre, El Rastro, that's where the name comes from. The slaughterhouse and tannery soon made this area the place in Madrid to get fresh meat and leather goods, and in the 1730s the neighborhood started to morph into the market that we see today as more traders and merchants started moving into the area. And it all started with the ropavejeros, who were people who would sell used clothes in wood and makeshift stalls on the streets, and that's where El Rastro's tradition with second-hand treasures began, and eventually it turned into what we know today. So as of today, El Rastro is the largest and the most popular open-air flea market in Madrid. It opens every Sunday and every public holiday from 9 to 3, and hundreds of stalls set up shop in this neighborhood of Madrid. You can find Hock ceramics, leather goods, vintage books, home decor, clothes, pretty much everything that you want to find you can find in El Rastro. You can also find lots of antiques and vintage furniture and that kind of stuff. There's also physical stores, not just stalls that are set up here, and it is also very well known for its bar and tapas restaurant scene, which I didn't get to explore this time because it was so crowded and I just didn't want to go into the tapas restaurants, but you can definitely do that here if you want to as well. So I started out by exploring kind of the outskirts of El Rastro, kind of some flower shops, some plant shops, which were really cute, really adorable, and also some stalls which were a little bit more isolated. This is also a very liberal area of Madrid, which I don't mind at all. I definitely consider myself to be more on the leftist and like liberal political spectrum, if that makes sense, but you can definitely sense the very liberal vibes here by just some of the things that are being sold. Like you can see lots of Spanish Republican flags, which I'll tell you a little bit more about that later, but you can find lots of that, which is considered very liberal, lots of Palestinian flags, which I love seeing, of course, and like LGBTQ plus flags all over the place. It definitely has very liberal vibes. As I moved closer to the proper market, it definitely got a lot more crowded. This is where I started seeing a lot of El Rastro's leather goods and like stalls that sold leather, which I feel is something that El Rastro is very, very well known for. And there's also a few police cars in this area because, like I said earlier, this is a prime place for pickpockets. When I was in El Rastro, I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit scared when I was filming because even though I have like the string that I showed you before, I still felt like there were people kind of loitering around waiting to snatch someone's phone or someone's wallet. Like they were just waiting for the perfect opportunity to pickpocket. And even though I had the string, I just know that pickpockets are resourceful, so I didn't love filming here, I'm not gonna lie. And there were a couple of things that I saw that I maybe would have bought, but I just didn't want to take out my money in this place again because I felt like the minute that I put money out, someone was gonna snatch it. Like there were these hair clips that I really liked, but again, I just didn't really want to buy them here. And there was also this shop which was really, really cute that had all of these upcycled silk clothing. Like everything was recycled and was silk and was super affordable, which was great. And it was basically this like these really colorful pieces of clothing. They had some really wonderful shirts and tops and skirts, and they were lovely. So I'm going somewhere tropical soon, and this would have been perfect for that. But in all honesty, I already bought everything that I needed. I didn't really need to buy anymore. And again, I just wasn't super comfortable buying here because of the amount of people in pickpockets that I just could feel around the area. It was also insanely crowded. Like it was hard to walk sometimes because of the amount of people that were in the area just around the markets. And I don't think that I visited on a particularly crowded day. I also went kind of early. Like the market is open from 9 to 3 and I went around 10. So not the earliest that I could have gone because in all honesty, I slept in a little bit and like I wanted to go earlier, but I ended up choosing sleep over going a bit earlier. But yeah, I feel like the more time passes, like at 12 or 1 p.m., this place would have been packed. And already by 10 p.m. it already felt crowded enough for me, for sure. I went into a couple of stores just to see what they had. I was very curious to see what the physical stores in El Rastro had, and they had some pretty cute things, I'm not gonna lie, just nothing that I needed or wanted particularly. And something that I didn't really see that I've seen in other places were books and posters. So I did end up coming across a couple of book stalls, and again, very liberal books. That was very interesting, like super liberal left-leaning books basically, but not a whole lot of posters. I didn't see a whole lot of antiques either. So I mean, these are stalls. I guess some stall owners might not come on some days, or you know, it's not a permanent market, so I guess there may be some variability between different days, but that's something that I found interesting. And it also wasn't as big as I thought it was going to be. I thought the market itself was going to be bigger, but it wasn't. So eventually I started just walking around La Latina and going to different places, and I was also searching for some souvenirs because I need to buy a gift for someone and I wanted to buy a couple of postcards for them, so I was kind of searching for that as well, for a souvenir shop, and I decided to go to Plaza Mayor, which is one of the main squares in Madrid. So that's where I ended up going, and I came across a really cute souvenir shop on my way there. I'm actually gonna check this place to see if they have that postcard that I want. So these are really funny. I actually wore, these are traditional dresses from Madrid for little kids, and I actually wore one of these when I was little myself. Like, a red and white one, I think it was, like around this size. Put a photo if I can find one, but that's really funny. Always brings back lots of memories from childhood. So I ended up buying these 2 postcards for, as a gift. And by the time I post this video, they will have already received the gift, so there's no danger that they will actually see it beforehand. And I also saw this really, really cute mirror that was actually really affordable, really cheap, so I decided to buy it for myself. I was really surprised at how affordable souvenirs were in shops in the Madrid city center, because obviously as a local, I don't go shopping for souvenirs in my own city very often. Like, honestly, I don't think I ever have. But I do travel a lot, so I do know what souvenirs cost in other cities, and I was very pleasantly surprised at how cheap they were in Madrid. Like, the postcards cost me 40 cents each, and the mirror was €3.50, and I felt like that was very good. Like, Paris or New York could never, and even in other places. I was in Tanzania earlier this year, well, by the time you're seeing this, I was in Tanzania last year, in May and June of 2024, and souvenirs there were ridiculously expensive. That was really surprising to me. And this is one thing that is actually cheaper in Madrid than in Tanzania, which I thought was really, really interesting. So after that, I moved towards the Plaza Mayor, and the Plaza Mayor, I'm not going to talk too much about it because I'm going to feature it in some other videos and vlogs from Madrid, but it basically means town square. It used to be like the city center of Madrid, and it was built between 1580 and 1619, I think. It's a really cool square, honestly. And right now, as I'm like filming this, it's December, so there was a Christmas market in La Plaza Mayor. I know that you're going to be seeing this in February, but I batch my content. So when I'm filming this, it is right before Christmas, so there was a Christmas market over here. So I told you earlier that I would talk to you a little bit more about the Spanish flag and the Republican flag, because the Spanish flag is very interesting in the sense that Spain is the only country in the world where a very, very large portion of the population actually rejects the flag and dislikes the flag. So to explain this, I have to tell you a little bit about the history of Spain. So in the early 20th century, Spain was a republic, and it went through a civil war between 1936 and 1939, which was really, really brutal. It was really horrible. And on the end of that war, the Republicans lost and the Nationalists won. So there was a dictatorship by General Francisco Franco, which lasted until he died in 1975. And since then, Spain became a democracy again. Now it's a kingdom, we have a king, and we have a parliament, and it's a parliamentary democracy. So the flag of the Republic is not the flag of Spain that you know today. It had red on the top, yellow in the middle, and purple on the bottom. And then when the dictatorship won, when the Nationalists won after the Civil War, the flag went back to being red, yellow, and red in the bottom. And that is what it has been until today, with minor modifications here and there. So because of that, the Spanish flag is sometimes associated with nationalism and fascism and extreme right. And using it a lot can kind of signal that you're on the right side of the political spectrum. And, Spain is a very divided country like a lot of countries, I think, in Europe and in the West and maybe even the world. But it is a very divided country between left and right. So using the flag a lot can kind of signal that you're right-leaning. And a lot of left-leaning people want the Republican flag back. So I don't usually talk about politics on my channel because I find that politics can be very divisive, and I do not want to promote divisiveness or confrontation in any way, shape, or form, but I did think it was very interesting to tell you about that fact. Personally, I'm more left-leaning. I don't really want the Republican flag back. I think Spain has so many more issues than, the flag and the symbolism. But I will admit I'm also a little bit uncomfortable using the Spanish flag just because it's so associated with nationalism, and I do not consider myself a nationalist. So I don't think that we should change it. I think that the left should embrace the flag that we have. But yeah, that's my political opinion. I will make an exception and give my political opinion on here, but yeah, that's definitely not the norm over here. Anyways, after the Plaza Mayor, I headed over to the Plaza del Sol, which is another very famous, very popular square in the Madrid city center. Personally, this is when I think of the Madrid city center, Plaza del Sol is what I think of. And on the way there, I stopped by this shop right here, which is called Alehop. So it's a really curious shop with a cow in the entrance, and I've seen tons of videos of people going into this shop, like tourists saying, oh, what weird things they have in this shop in Spain. And so I want to just show you. So I'm gonna get this one actually because I'm going somewhere tropical in a few weeks, and this would be so perfect for that. And it's so pretty. So these long pants, which I could have really used because they're like stretchy here but flowy in the bottom, and they come in different colors. Like I like the black, I like this green one, but then I saw 20 euros and I was like, yeah, absolutely not. But yeah, Alehop is basically a shop where you can find really weird stuff. You can find like trending stuff, lots of random gadgets, really cutesy stuff, and like stuffed animals, also some beauty stuff, some tech, and some just really weird stuff that you can't really find anywhere else, and like a physical location, the kind of stuff that you can only buy in places like TikTok shop or Amazon when they become really popular. So that is what you're gonna find in Alehop. It's just a fun store, like a fun casual trending store where you can find random shit basically. But yeah, foreign tourists are really amused by it for some reason, so I thought I'd show you. And once I got to Plaza del Sol, again, I'm not going to show you this place a lot because I'm going to talk about it in some of my other videos, but it is very famous for this sign right here which says Tío Pip. It's like a very iconic sighting in Madrid. But from here, I took the subway back home, and that was the end of my adventure in El Rastro and in the Madrid city center for today. Just came back from El Rastro, and I had a great time there actually. I had never been, so I loved exploring it. And I didn't buy anything because I didn't really feel like I needed to, but if I ever want something that they have there, or like I need like those kinds of clothes or leather or something like that, I'll definitely head out there because I think it's a really cool place. It was super cheap. And yeah, I generally really enjoyed it. Like I said, you do have to be careful with your phone and your valuables when you're there. So definitely like be careful with that. Don't take your eyes off of your valuables. But otherwise, it was a nice place. I recommend that you go early, like earlier than I did, because it does start getting really crowded at around like 10:30 or 11. I think before that it should be fine. And if you're spending a few days in Madrid, then why not check it out? It's pretty close to some really, really major tourist attractions in Madrid. Like I just showed you the Plaza Mayor, the Plaza del Sol. So if you're in the city, you should definitely check it out. And by buying from there, you're also supporting local businesses and local life in Madrid and Spain. So I would definitely really recommend it. I wanted to tell you this story about El Rastro that my mom told me that I didn't know about actually. So my mom didn't grow up with a lot of money, and her family spent basically all their money on their bare necessities. Like they lived paycheck to paycheck, and they couldn't really buy things just because they wanted to. They couldn't really buy things that they liked. They could only buy things that they needed. So in the late 70s, early 80s, when my mom was maybe like 15 or 14, like that kind of age, she started selling tortilla de patata, which is a typical dish here in Spain. It is very good. Her tortilla de patatas are like the best ones ever. It's basically omelette with potatoes in it. Very simple, but so, so good. So she and her sister, my aunt, started selling tortilla de patata around El Rastro to the sellers, like the people who were like selling stuff. So they sold that to them. They sold food and homemade food. And with the money that they got from that, they bought things in El Rastro, things that they liked. My mom specifically liked like the strappy sandals, like leather sandals, the strappy kind. So that's what she bought. And I just thought it was a nice story to tell about like local life in Madrid and how it's not just a touristy spot. It has a lot of soul to it. Like it's really like a lot of authenticity, really good vibes. And a lot of locals also go there, and there's also lots of local life, so I highly recommend that you go if you're ever in the area. Lastly, I almost forgot, but if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe. It truly helps me out so much more than you think. And lately, I've noticed that a lot of my recurring viewers, so people who watch my videos regularly, aren't subscribed to my channel, and it would help me out so much if you did subscribe more than you think. So I would really appreciate it, and I hope to see you in my next video.